Hey everybody, welcome back to the Daddy Knows Best channel, helping you be a strong, successful person out there. Men, women, children, and everybody out there. Welcome to my channel. Daddy's here to give you some advice. Today we're going to be talking about Animal Crossing and how this has kind of been taken over. Not kind of, it has been taken over, honestly. And how this affects your children. Really the issue on a bigger, a deeper scale. Why is something that's a children's video game so important to some people, and why was it taken over, and why do these things kind of happen where they take over Star Wars and Star Trek and all of our popular media? Let's talk about what's going on here and a bit of the history that's involved with the Animal Crossing takeover. So first off, we start with GameRant.com. They say, stunning Animal Crossing, New Horizons art show players safe space. So they don't really get into the details of what is a safe space or why it's a safe space and what we promote and who we protect. But they do mention that Brie Larson, oh, such a beautiful soul. Brie Larson. Oh, bless her heart. She's just so wonderful and loving and considerate and brave. And but let's continue over here. You know, this they don't have a lot to say. They talk about that, you know, some people are getting involved, making their own individual little art, expressing their own character, draw themselves into Animal Crossing over here with them, with a picturesque little river and stream and a little ladybug and an orange tree. And you know, this is just about acceptance. It's just about peace and us inserting ourselves and involving ourselves with, you know, a peaceful children's video game. It's just so wonderful, isn't it? But let's let you know, there's much more to this, of course, as you know. This is the kind of thing that's, you know, it's kind of just it's a fluff piece to soothe the masses, to make you be to distract parents, you know, and people from the real issues here, and also, you know, for them to just, you know, support their movement as a whole. You know, draw your little pictures, insert yourself, get really creative and figure out ways to get, you know, artists and your friends involved with this game. And they mention how popular it is as well. They do seem to be very focused on what's popular and what they can take over. Let's continue. Quora. Now, if you're not familiar with Quora, I actually like it because people are able to express their own ideas and their opinions, and it's also kind of like a record in history. This is about the earliest thing I could find where, you know, somebody had expressed an opinion that really laid the groundwork and expressed how people felt. At least some people felt, and why these people took over Animal Crossing. So this person, Dan Beal, 6 years ago, and this was quite, you know, again, this controversy and takeover started in late 2019, early 2020. This was about 6 years ago. So this is quite, you know, quite a few years before. But here you see that they say that it's heteronormative male characters can form romantic attachments to female characters, but there's no male to male, no female to female. There's no bi, gay, and other stuff beyond simple friendship. See, that bothers them. They think that's heteronormative, supporting, you know, biological, quote unquote, normal relationships. That's problematic to them. That's annoying to them. And again, this is a children's video game. They're not, you know, there's nothing explicit in this video game. It's very children friendly. And as far as quote unquote romantic relationships, they might show little hearts, and the conversation might, you know, you might consider it very subtly flirty. There's nothing romantic. There's not really much of any holding of hands or kissing or anything in this game, and as it should be. It's supposed to be a very innocent game for very young children. But you know, they say it's gender normative, and that's problematic to them. That kids are being, you know, possibly suggested from an early age that normal relationships are between a man and a woman, and a woman and a man. That's somehow problematic. You see, they think that's dangerous, that normal biology is you know, suggested and promoted. You know, it's suggesting that a normal family, you know, with a biological cis man, a biological cis woman, the nuclear family, and with a child that, you know, is acting kind of normal and not doing all these other divergent lifestyle attitudes and purple, pink, green hair and and stuff like this. You know, to them that's disgusting. That's strange, and it also is to them, it's isolating because they don't identify with it and they feel like they can't relate. But of course, you know, you or many of us are accepting of them, but they're not accepting of you. And we're going to continue on with this video and see that they essentially want to take over everything because they want to make hetero, quote unquote, normative or normal biological families, normal relationships, you know, into a minority. They want to make you less common. They want to make you it to be a kink for you to want to have children. They want to make it you know, strange or abnormal for you to have more than one kid, and for that kid, you know, for your family, if all of your kids are, you know, straight or quote unquote straight, that's a problem to them. That's abnormal to them. That is even dangerous. But you know, they continue to say that as a parent, as they're a parent supposedly, and they say it infuriates them. They want to know that that the world is diverse, so they would like to see and force that representation into a children's video game. Again, Nintendo has attempted to be extremely neutral on the topic of gender and relationship. They're a game for everybody, just like Disney used to be. And again, as you know, they completely took over Disney, and they're trying to indoctrinate and take over your kids and influence your kids to, you know, live these divergent alternative lifestyles that often we've proven through science, they often lead to more, you know, unhappy people. You know, they'd be much more happy if they were just straight. But of course, we're going to, you know, you have to, quote unquote, you have to accept the science, their science, but they're the ones who reject facts and science. But they continue to, and then they complain even about fishing, which they consider fishing problematic. I guess we all have to eat grass. Is it problematic if we start to eat bugs now? You know, are we going to go back to, you know, a lot of these people also, again, I'm kind of on neutral ground on a lot of these things, but these kinds of people most certainly believe in evolution. If you believe in evolution and you want to take us, you know, fishing and protein and meat away, are you arguing that people should become, you know, de-evolve and become more like, you know, apes or something? I mean, really, the consequences and the intricacies of what these people say, I don't think they understand the complexities of what they're saying. On one hand, these types of people can, you know, talk about that they don't want people to be able to fish or eat, and this is the same attitude they have in real life. They don't want you to be able to go outside fishing, they don't want you to be able to go hunting, and they also try to lampoon you with your Second Amendment and your gun rights. They tried to say that, oh, those are just, you know, those things are just for hunting. You can't have your black thing or your black object, those ARs and those things. But that, you know, you should just have things for hunting and fishing. But then they also try to control, regulate, and, you know, reduce the amount of hunting and fishing as well. But let's continue. Again, this is kind of a starting point where some people were starting to express their uneasiness or unhappiness, or Animal Crossing is problematic because it doesn't show, you know, gender diversities and, you know, multi-gender relationships. But you know, here I wanted to show you that, again, I have to kind of convince some of these people, or you maybe you're one of these people in disbelief. You know, why would somebody spend their free time when you're trying to put food on the table, bread and butter, survive, make a living, hardworking 9-to-5 people? These people actively are taking over Minecraft, Animal Crossing. They've taken over most of popular media. When they get a job, they're not there to make the product better, to serve people, to make people happy, and they often are able to get into corporate positions. Funny enough, again, a lot of you people are out there actually making things happen. You're fixing if you're fixing things, you're maintaining things, and you're producing things of value that people need. But you know, these are the same people who demonize you and demonize capitalism, but they also take over these corporations, and their whole purpose in living is to take over these things and to change them. But and here's some evidence of that, and I have another big point to show you here in a second too. They say, I think all of them, and they're talking about, you know, if these people are, the question was, you know, are they bi, or who are all these Animal Crossing characters gay? They say, I think all of them. None of them are at the same time, so they can change what gender they are or what they want to be at any time, of course. But that being said, you know, they make some really strange points here. And this person here, Daring Red, says, thought I was going to be funny and say this comment, which is a hot take and infuriating, that all the, you know, it's not enough for just one character or a couple in Animal Crossing to quote unquote be gay, or for representation to be enough. You see, this is in 2020. This is years later. It's not acceptable for us to have, you know, an equal amount of relationships, just as many or a few relationships. You know, again, they are the minority. They don't want a fair amount of representation, where they really would be, you know, there would be fewer of them represented in a video game, if they should even be represented at all, in a children's video game with their divergent lifestyles. But these people here go to the point where they think it's funny, and they say just all the characters are gay, and they all should be, you know, sporting different multicolored hair and different styles, and be able to change their gender and be able to flirt with each other, and turn Animal Crossing more into a dating simulator. That's how they are. And then they talk about that, they say, you know, they make a reference to a book from Obama, and if somebody out there likes Obama and thinks Obama is inspirational, my goodness, they're very they're very I don't know what the word is. They've certainly forsaken reason and logic. But they say normal villagers are just cottagecore, bi, lesbian, smug villagers, like the confident ones or the arrogant ones, are just, you know, and then they say these kinds of things that, you know, and then and these references like Stan and Twitter gays and faux Bridger stands. You see these types of references and this type of thing, you might not even understand what these things are. You might want to look them up. Things change, and your kids might know, are much more likely to know than the parents what these things actually mean. But of course, these people do want to influence your kids, and they have every intention to. And let me show you the biggest kicker, probably, or the biggest thing in this video that might shock you or might be impressive to you. Again, they talk about all this stuff that, again, you might not be familiar with, himbos and this. But let's jump to the next point. You know, that Nintendo actually shut this stuff down. You know, Nintendo said, no, we're not going to insert real relationships. This game doesn't really have much of any relationships. It never really had any real relationships. And Nintendo, you know, had to get in here and actually tell them to stop this, and that this was not a part of the story, because they were misrepresenting Nintendo. And these people, again, they do much more than just claim something or try to influence your kids and say things on Twitter and make demands. They actually were pressuring and threatening Nintendo to stand on their side, or they're going to boycott, or you know, we're going to, you know, not buy your products anymore, or we're not going to, you know, promote your products anymore if you don't stand with us on our LGBTQT you know, agendas. So they were very unhappy about this, and this became kind of an Animal Crossing almost became a battleground. Again, a lot of y'all don't think this is just a kid's video game. This is a fight and a war for your children's minds, and they will fight in regards to Animal Crossing, and they'll fight many other types of battles where you might, you know, get distracted. You might just turn on the Disney Channel. You might just, you know, turn on the TV or let your kids listen to music, and you might think that there's not much harm to be done, or much harm that will be done, and you're just trying to de-stress, and all of a sudden your children are being influenced to live these divergent lifestyles and to oppose you and to feel like they're not understood by you and not loved by you, and that you don't have, you and your friends and all the straight people around them don't understand them and don't like them, and that they're oppressed and that they need to find love and support and community, somewhere else. And then they're on this warpath to convince or change other people to be like this. And of course, consequences and actions of becoming trans and actually undergoing surgery and that kind of stuff being paid by your tax dollars. They don't care about those types of consequences and those kinds of things that they will take from people. And we're gonna be talking about a few more of those things, the things they take and the consequences of these things at the end. And that they can accuse you of being an ist and a phobe and all these things, and then try to, recently, for example, they tried to force baseball teams to wear certain pendants, and if you didn't wear them, they were going to kick you off the team. Hope that you understand that these people, they're not joking, and they literally have the power to get you fired and demoted and ostracize you, even so if you're a famous excellent sports player, sports and entertainment and how skilled you are at something, your talent, even the economy, the darn economy doesn't even matter. What matters more is representation and our feelings. But let's continue on with a bigger point here. They openly targeted Nintendo. They openly fought to change it. They've been able to, in the new Zelda game, they were able to mix in a little bit of their influence. Nintendo did bend the knee a tiny bit, but they want to completely take over Nintendo. They would love to have Nintendo, bend over and obey their whims and to influence your kids and people all around the world, because Nintendo is so beloved. To them, neutrality is violence. You not speaking out is like speaking against them. If you're just neutral, to them, that's considered violence, and they have the right to attack and threaten and try to destroy you. See here, look, and they think this is all inspirational. They say we weren't asking, or we are not asking you. We're telling you that they're gay. So now they, as the community or the communita, have authority over Animal Crossing to tell the creators, the writers. If you wrote a book, now they have control of the book. Again, these are the same people who hate, the writers like Tolkien, and, the authors behind things like Harry Potter. These are the same people who think that they, as a community, now control these things. You no longer control them. You don't have authority over them. But let's continue. Another one of these big controversies was the space buns from Animal Crossing. If you don't know, this is really ridiculous. These buns look like something from Star Wars with Princess Leia. They don't look cultural. They really aren't cultural. You can claim that, they have certain... Honestly, there's more cultural significance to the Chinese with these buns than, black culture. But again, they made this a race issue, and they tried to and this was a way for them to get their foot in the door so they could invade the style and the costumes and the hairstyles of Animal Crossing. So again, they acted as if this was racist. And they also demanded that people who are creators could also insert their own costumes and clothes and hairstyles into the video game that normally were not in the video game. So they would start to represent themselves and represent characters and have greater influence and power to do these things. And again, some video games are highly customizable, and you can, create your own hairstyles and whatever you want. But they wanted to take over this, and they made this a big issue, and it was utterly and completely ridiculous. And the funny thing was, with quote unquote representation, they were not arguing that maybe only a certain race in the game could wear the certain hairstyle. They wanted it completely removed because Animal Crossing had not bent the knee and supported them enough that the community did not give their seal of approval. Therefore you could not use this hairstyle, as if they own this hairstyle culturally. But again, they act as if they control Animal Crossing and Star Wars and Star Trek and James Bond and everything else. You see, these people don't care about, your rights and freedoms and, private property and trademarks and this kind of thing. They openly fight to take over these kinds of things. The space buns thing is utterly ridiculous to me. It's kind of laughable. And then they claim that these puffs are black representation, but then if you try to call them Afro puffs, they say that's racist. Yeah, and then they make statements like this, like white people don't have textured hair. And I could get into a whole video about all this, that they they don't care or consider, different cultures and different races and different hairstyles. These people are actually the racist. If you want to talk about something as being sacred or significant, like an eagle feather to the Native Americans, that's one discussion. If there's certain spiritual sites for certain religions, like let's say the Muslims in different places, and if we want to talk about that, certain things should be respected, we can have a discussion about that. But to say somebody cannot wear a certain hairstyle, that's their body, again, they'll freak out and say, my body, my choice. But you apparently can't wear your own hairstyle. And if it's represented in a video game, again, if they got their way, they could have just limited this hairstyle to only black or darker skinned characters. If you were lighter skin or white as a character, you were not limited to wear this style. But they wanted it completely removed, and again, they wanted more power over Animal Crossing. They always want more influence and control over it, and they love to cause controversies like this. But again, this is more than just taking things over with race or gender, whatever. Let's look here. Supermaker.com, they let us know straight and clear. They made it a statement. They make it in bold lettering. They say it straight to your face, loud, bold, and clear. So let's read what they have to say and what they have to tell us, because they want you to know this, and they want to have an influence here. They say to queer is to disrupt, to shift, to change. So if you are queer, if you are LGBT, or even if you are a quote unquote ally, even if you're straight or whatever, so to speak, of video games and other product of culture, movies, music, entertainment, because they want to influence and change people's culturally. They say so that it turns towards non-heteronormative identity and desire. So essentially they're trying to make heteronormative, normal relationships between men and women and having families and having children to be less desirable, less popular, for that to be seen as strange or abnormal. Again, they want to be seen as the popular culture. They want to be seen as what's normal, what's celebrated, what's decent. But again, their type of identity, their type of lifestyle does not allow for people to have children. Now, there's some strange ways with trans and different things that they can do to possibly have children. But most of the time, these people don't have children, don't want children, and these people live very unhealthy, divergent lifestyles. And they most certainly don't raise children to be productive, effective, healthy citizens, and people that they, especially when they are the ones who talk about community all the time. They're the ones who talk about community, and all this. And while they destroy the very fabric of societies and economies, and how we involve with each other, how we protect each other and support each other. They tear apart all this kind of stuff. So I hope that you know that these people are literally on the warpath. Again, me making a video like this, these types of people would like to label me as a ist and a phobe and an ism, and say that and if you agree with me, or if you sympathize with anything that I say, they would say that you are also an ist, a phobe, or one of these isms. But I am the person over here trying to help people. Again, I accept you and these types of people for their lifestyle. I accept who you are. I respect you. I am not trying to get you canceled and thrown out and not represented in all this. But you and these types of people are actively on the warpath to take over everything. Again, when I say that they want to make you a minority, and we're not even talking about whites here, we're not even talking about freedom-minded people and conservatives, again, those are completely evil people. Even if you're a freedom-minded person where you think that you should be able to even say what you want to say, think what you want to think, and you should be able to defend your friends or family or whoever, you're probably a very dangerous, bad person to these people, just because you want to be able to speak and you want to be able to live your own lifestyle in your own way. They would literally invade and use the government and use corporations and entertainment to not only cast you out. Outcasting you is not enough, where you can't even get a job, you can't even get hired by these corporations and these in these industries. That's already happening. That on multiple fronts. If you don't believe in the green initiatives, and if you don't say the right things regarding the coof or the cough and all these things that these types of people control, you are outcasted. But they do more than that. They want to bring this war to your door. They want to be able to take your children, and they openly say that they will, and they'll find every single way to influence your children. And again, a lot of us get distracted. And it is really bad that they would target 6 and 7 and 8-year-old kids and show them materials. We're about to talk about that. Materials that would encourage and promote them doing acts with each other and being experimental. These people are extremely dangerous. But that's not enough for them. They actually have openly said that your child is never young enough to influence them. They have written, you better be very careful about what, children's books you read. And you most certainly can't go to, your public libraries anymore, because those are safe spaces, and they have also taken over those places as well. You hardly can't find any real books anymore. And also, they put on presentations and demand that your children watch their presentations, where they are taught to accept and to become, these LGBTQ, whatever, etc. So let's continue. I wanted to pull this article out here again, because I said this was a war. They literally say this battleground continues in our nation's schools as well, with religious schools firing not only our teachers. Again, these people misspell. These people criticize you and freak out and try to find a chink in your armor, find some way to criticize you. These people can't spell, and they can't even speak correctly. But they say, but also straight teachers who support LGBT, so they also get rid of our quote unquote allies. So these people, again, think that they have the authority or the responsibility to go outside of your curriculum. If the school does not allow or provide or have that kind of material, in the textbooks, if they are given guidelines and told what to do and told, maybe even told what not to do, they feel if it's their responsibility to violate, their agreements to that school. Again, if you have a religious private school, again, they ignore that this is a private school. This is not a government public school. This is a private school where they have control and authority over what is taught and what's not taught. What if these people funded and organized a school, and they want a a school of a certain religion, or a school of a certain belief, or maybe everybody at the school happens to support families and heteronormativity. You see, that's problematic. They don't want private schools to exist, especially religious private schools, where they do not have control and they do not have power over what is taught. They also say parents are suing schools for allowing kids to express their gender identities, and South Carolina is trying to erase and ban all LGBTQ themed curriculum. You see, they, again, they speak of the community or the communita, and they control your music and your movies and your entertainment. That's not enough. They have to have control of your public schools. Again, a lot of these LGBT, again, this is a heated topic, but a lot of the times they can't adopt these days. And they have every opportunity to teach those kids how they think, as parents, how they think that they should live. But that's not enough. They have to take over what's normal and teach them and indoctrinate your kids that being, hetero, or, being a cis man and a cis woman and having a family, but wanting the white picket fence and the dog and having a normal family, that's abnormal and that's strange, and that you're most likely inherently an oppressor, especially if you're white and you want a white boy or a male who wants, to marry a white, especially if it's a white woman, and you want a family, and the white picket fence and the dog, you most certainly have inward, if it's not outward, inherently there's something wrong with that kid. And you don't think that they're targeting your little boys and your little kids? They most certainly are. Again, I'm all for your, quote, representation. You have marches, you have music, you have media, you have entertainment. But kids are not not, it's not as if in public schools that kids were taught or ever taught that, marriage is between a man and a woman. And that's, public schools never really did that and shouldn't do that. Again, public schools, these types of people see public schools as a training ground. And that's why we call them the indoctrination camps. They see that, a normal person or somebody, really, public schools shouldn't even exist to begin with, but if they do, they should be teaching skills and abilities and aptitudes and training them to become, who they want to be, and giving them skills and practical abilities, into trades and things that they can apply towards a job and business and the economy. A public school is not here to mold people to, to be a certain participant, or act in a certain way, or believe in a certain way, or become a member of the community or their communita of collectivism. The purpose of a public school is not to make kids and to make people become, to have certain beliefs, to have certain core beliefs or certain core values. And again, certain basic principles can be taught if you want to get into the weeds, and like honesty and fairness and some of these basic core values and things based on our law, like not murdering people. Some of those basic core values perhaps can be taught. But to teach people, what's normal, what's not normal, and how to do certain acts with people, to do certain things with people, that's not the purpose of public school. That's not that. That's what teachers are. That's what parents are supposed to do, not teachers. That's not a teacher's responsibility. That's not a teacher's place. But these people do not care. And they also took over things like Sesame Street. And they think it's problematic that they can't control Sesame Street and kids' books. And in Toy Story, there was some controversy with Toy Story 4. But again, nothing is ever enough for these people. So I wanted to continue with this because, again, they're going to continue on with their narrative. Here's a YouTube channel from Concur. I don't know this person's gender. We're not talking about anything like that. They say conservatives are the ones who attack kids in this video. They make a bunch of really ridiculous points, like if a 16 or a 17-year-old is allowed to get married, that's considered grooming, but the parents have to agree and consent, and also a local judge for them to be able to get legally married. And that's considered problematic. But these are the same people who ignore or think it's normal for them to target your 6-year-old kid and tell them that they need to have transgender surgery paid by your tax dollars, or that they need to start experimenting with themselves or other people, and all these things. These are the same people who ignore and even protect real Muslim grooming gangs. If you want to criticize certain people in the past, like the LDS and polygamists and certain things, that's a whole nother discussion, and I'd be open to having it. But this type of person is very disingenuous, and they love to play their little word games. And they say nearly 1 in 5 young adults say that they're not straight, and they say that this is normal and good, and it's also not enough. They think it should be 50-50, and then they go to the extreme where they think that they should be the norm. It should be abnormal. They think that 20% of the population, maybe less, and they still want to ostracize you and still would like to, make you, less seen because you're annoying if you're a heteronormative, quote unquote, man and woman and family and children type of people. These people openly want to completely change demographics and take control of the situation. Again, you are not allowed to have your own representation and your own culture and your own beliefs. And they also, again, they don't care about the consequences, the health consequences, the diseases, and the sadness, and all the other things, that the consequences of these people's alternative and divergent lifestyles. But again, you're free to do what you want, and I respect you. But there are consequences here, and these people completely ignore these types of consequences. And again, they're on the warpath. Again, we mentioned that. They say the impacts are far more frightening than a wealthy white guy. Again, if you're wealthy, you're evil. If you're white to these people, you're evil. You're the oppressor. These people are Marxist. They believe that that the strong always oppress the weak, always in some way or another. They also always disregard if you are a person who achieves, if you're a person who invents, if you're smart, if you serve people, if you do great things, if you're a leader, that you are always the oppressor in one way or another. Of course, when they are on top, when they are leaders, when they are powerful, when they become wealthy, oh, they're never the oppressors. Oh, they're never the oppressors. And if you're a guy, you're also problematic. You just being a male or a man is problematic. But if you're wealthy and white, you're problematic. If you're a wealthy guy, you're problematic. If you're a wealthy white guy, you're pretty much as evil as you can be inherently. There's something inherently very wrong with you. And of course, again, I've made this argument before, these people don't go to another culture or another country or different people where they have people who are leaders. They don't go to Africa where there's some 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" guy, African tribal leader who's strong and powerful and could crush your head with one hand. Who's he's smarter than the rest of them, and he also can have any woman in the whole tribe that he wants. You don't criticize those types of people, and I could make all kinds of different examples. Those people are not the oppressors. But it happens to be the people that in the West, in America, who have created and developed all this wealth, and if they can get people to jump on this bandwagon of shame and sacrifice and martyrdom for other people, you're all this wealth and all this innovation, all this technology, all of this creativity, and the technology and the benefits from all of that, they have the opportunity to take from you. That's what this is really about. Of course, they'll never say it that way. They'll love to act as if You know, that's not really their motivation here, to take control and to have power. And again, they act as if, you know, they are the ones under attack. They act as if they are the victims and they are the oppressed and not represented. They are actively taking over your schools. They say here they wrote a book called New Kid, telling the story of a black student trying to fit in with a mostly white school. That might be difficult. That might be a book that is worth reading. But they said it was not only banned by a Texas school district, but the author himself stopped coming to school. Well, was the student outcasted or thrown out of the school? It sounds like the author left of his own volition. And what was written in this book? Was this black student actively supporting a 3-letter organization that did quote unquote peaceful protest? You know, this person wrote this book and probably had acts in it or suggested things that were essentially the equivalent of bombing or a bombing or something. And these people think it's stunning or brave. And you know, people, you know, again, they're not going to discuss what was in that book and what that person actually suggested, what was actually promoted in that book. And then these people again act as if they're victims. And again, people of all kinds of races and people have done great things, but they like to over-represent those people and force them in their faces. Well, I'm sorry if you're unhappy that white people have achieved so much. They have. And if you want to succeed and do great things, I encourage you to. All people of all around the world should and should want to achieve and should want to do great things and work together and build up, you know, our countries and our people. But they actively want over-representation. They don't care that, there's again, I bring this up as an example because they have, you know, an astronaut who is black, and they act as if, it's a problem, you know, if that's not taught and demanded, and with like Black History Month and all this stuff that's already in our society. And then black students accuse white students of brandishing a Confederate flag. They accuse them. And even if they did have a Confederate flag, was it on school grounds or not? And also, you can also have the debate on what is the Confederate flag and what isn't the Confederate flag. And they were accused. They have no proof. And where was this done? That they were supposedly saying racial things. And then these people decide to go and do a protest and march on the school and demand changes of probably the principal, and demand changes and demand that these kids get thrown out of the school and all these things. You say if these people feel threatened or provoked in any way, they think that they should be able to march in and conquer a public school or a public space or something. These people, you're not in the right for this. This is utterly unacceptable and utterly ridiculous. If you feel offended, or if somebody's done something wrong to you or said something wrong with you, you disagree with them, you debate with them. You don't try to control your school and protest your school. And these people just don't do protests. They actively commit violence. Of course, they say it's a peaceful protest, but it's almost never a peaceful protest. Again, there's other things that you can read here. There's other crazy things that they say here at thesalon.com with their article here called John Grude's Censorship. But let's continue. As I wrap up this video now, I made this video to help men out. Again, this is a channel focused on helping men succeed and helping men be successful. A lot of you guys need help. You know, I sometimes do my research and try to get ideas or see where other people are in the community or on YouTube. And I searched help men up here in the search bar. And what was recommended was a short video called The Great Cut, suggesting men have long hair. Hey, that's cool. Do what you want. But and then we have a video about midwives are being taught how to help men give birth with this transgender thing. And again, you women out there also under attack from this kind of stuff. They also they don't even know what a woman is anymore. Society doesn't even know what a woman is. There's no definition, both gender and like personality or likes wise. They don't even know what a woman is anymore, and they won't define what a woman or even a man is. Now you have to be a identify somebody as a birthing or a non-birthing person. And is it exclusionary because somebody can't be gender fluid and change themselves into a birthing or a non-birthing person whenever they choose to be? Is that really problematic? Anyways, I wanted to make this point here. You know, societies do have power. These people are making changes. There's this idea going around that's been around for quite a while called the age of majority, where somebody is considered an adult at 18, but you know, they might not be able to go buy boomsticks or get alcohol or maybe not get married at a certain age. You have the control and you have influence to help society or help societies choose what's normal. These people are trying to control what is age and what is gender. These people don't want you to be considered an adult until you're 20. There's people out there who don't want your children to be considered adults until they're 23. So they won't be able to vote until they're 23. They won't be able to own items of self-defense. They won't be able to drink. But of course, when they're 6 years old, they'll be experimenting on themselves and other kids and doing, you know, activities that those types of kids probably shouldn't even know those things exist. And these people openly want to control what is socially normal and not. So this is why you have to put your voice out there. Again, I talk to far too many people who think that they're still the majority when they're being replaced by invaders and immigration intentionally. Again, more people legally migrate. Then this is legally. This does not include the invaders of America or the West. And many times, most of the time, more people are immigrants than actually born onto American soil. So the demographics and the races and the cultures and the religions, of these countries are being, radically and quickly changed overnight almost. And then that doesn't even include the people who invade, these countries and force themselves into these countries. So I hope that you understand that you need to, stand up for not only your local communities, become lawyers, become judges, become people of affluence, and stand up for these things. Again, I'm not much of a MGTOW person. I understand that you don't want to be stressed anymore and you don't want the problems and that you've been ostracized and many of you are divorced and that you hate society and in a lot of ways I also do hate society, and society's done a lot against me as a man. They've used me and they have abused me. But if you have love in your heart and you want to make society better, you have to stand up and speak out. And you have to organize and have affluence. If you aren't speaking out, if kids don't even know of, your, like marriages or relationships between men and women, if they, it's soon going to become abnormal or strange. The average child is going to think it's strange or unusual for you to support capitalism or to want to own a business. It's going to become strange for you to, want to have a wife or a husband and to have children. They're going to see all these things as extremely strange. They're going to think it's normal for them to do, public acts or do all kinds of different divergent things. And again, these types of people also don't really care if they spread diseases and things as well. But then they also freak out, and they're told to obey the news and the current next thing. So I hope that you will speak out as a man. And I know it's extremely risky, but possibly do try to find you know, a woman or somebody who might want to work with you and stand up for these things. There are a few people out there, and you know, these people were able to make a change, take over. And again, we don't want to step on anybody's rights and freedoms and speech like these LGBTQ people will and are, but we need to start standing up, you know, for what you believe in. And arguably, you need to maybe start fighting for freedom in general, because arguably a lot of these institutions and things that they have taken over should never have existed in the first place. The Federal Reserve, they've threatened our financial institutions and taken them over. The Federal Reserve should have never existed. The CIA, the FBI, they've corrupted all of our governments and institutions. And anything like public schools that's vulnerable, like city councils and many things, they'll take over these things. But again, you're content to just sit back and not fight and not to speak out. You got to do something. You got to speak out. You got to start having affluence and influence, and you got to do more than just be silent. You know, I'm not content. I can't be content with just sitting back and watching the modern world just be destroyed and taken over by these types of people. You know, I'm not religious, but I think it'd be a sin if I was just a sin, essentially, if I was just silent. You know, I'd feel accountable to myself. I'd feel responsible in some way that I didn't do my part to try to help. So, and good laughs and a little bit of fun, express yourself. This isn't all doom and gloom. There's a lot of fun to be had out there. Have fun. Maybe make your own parades. And I wanted to show you all this. You know, this video, because Animal Crossing with the dance with Anka, again, they were extremely offended when that Anka dance came around, because not only does that Anka with, you know, thing support a man with a woman, and it was outside of their control, and in a way it was an insult to them. It also became a popular trend, and it was also where straight women were also, you know, kind of showing a little bit of flirtatiousness, I guess we'll say, over here today. Of course, this woman is attractive over here, and this is one of the things that they mocked. These people openly would mock a very attractive woman with doing her little dance. And yeah, I mean, sure, you can make fun of thought culture and all this and that, but these people don't have any moral or religious qualms about thought culture. These people just don't like straight women, and they don't like, you know, they don't like women expressing their attractiveness. You know, they think she's too skinny. They think that she has pretty privilege and all this. So have some fun out there. Express yourselves. Feel free. I have this video up. Again, it was targeted, but then when I used LGBT pronouns, it was allowed. So please make that maybe your ringtone. Make that your ringtone. And, you know, kind of annoy people around you. Don't be ashamed of it. You don't even have to like Anka or whatever. Just do it for fun. And again, please go listen to Camel by Camel for me. And salute. And get in my comment section, and even in the comment section of the video here, with Sandy Martin's Camel by Camel, this vocal mix video, and let them know that we talked about Animal Crossing today, and what's going on in the modern world, because a lot of you just don't understand, and it's hard to know. And why are people doing these kinds of things? And again, if you you know, think I'm some crazy conservative, if you think that I'm a hate monger or something, I'm not. I love you, and I do want you to have fun. Men, go out there, have fun. And for any of you who are Democrats and think that I'm mad or insane or if I'm crazy, why don't you go watch this speech by Malcolm X, who says that if you vote Democrat, you're a traitor to your race. You're the same people who support Joe Biden. He's not a president. And he said that if you don't, you know, vote for a Democrat, that you ain't black. And a white person said that. Why don't you go watch Malcolm X? And he talks about how Democrats are actually the traitors. you know, to their race or to their country and to their people. So I'll leave this video for you here. Hope that you enjoyed it. Hope that you had some fun and some wisdom, some education out there. And please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share the video, and tell a friend. Have a beautiful day, and be educated, and please come back. I'm trying to push out a video for you every day. You know, a heteronormative push out, you know, birth of a video for you every day, so that you can you know, have some fun, stay educated, and understand the crazy world out there. So have a beautiful day once again. I'll see ya. Hope I put a smile on your face. Stay well, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out and bye.